Hi, my name is Emily, and today we're going to learn how to simplify square roots and cube roots in a math podcast. For simplifying square roots, the first thing you need to know is what a square is. A square, as you probably already know, is a shape with four equal sides with right angles, and in order to get those four equal sides, you will multiply the one side by the other side. For example, if you had a square with a side of 8, in order to figure out what the square would be, you would multiply both sides by each other, because they are all equal, to find the area, which is 64. You would do this for any number. Let's use a different number, 132. In order to find the square root of 132, we have to think of what number times itself equals 132. In this case, it's 11. One of the easiest ways to find the square root of an integer is to know perfect squares made by whole numbers from 1 to 12. These perfect squares are things like 1 times 1 equals 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, and so on and so forth. Those are perfect squares. Now, what happens if it isn't divisible by two of the same integers? For that, let's do the square root of 192. This number is a perfect square, but how do we find the factors, or the side length, if it's not a really long decimal? We don't want the decimals, so that's why we simplify. What I find easiest is to divide the number by numbers that have perfect square factors in them. In 192, 64 goes into 192 3 times. So, I know that 64 is a perfect square with 8 times 8, so let's go from there. So I would write it out as the square root of 3 times the square root of 64. And now we're going to simplify it. Because the square root of 64 is 8, we would write it as 8 times the square root of 3. And we can't simplify 3 anymore, so the simplified square root of 192 is 8 and the square root of 3. Let's learn about cube roots. Cubes are a three-dimensional version of squares. So, for example, if you have a 3 by 3 square, you're going to add to the third dimension another 3 up. So you would do 3 to the power of 3, which would equal 27. Similarly to simplifying square roots, we're going to try to find what that side is, and every single side is equal. I would suggest memorizing a few of the standard cube roots, so 4 to the third power, or anything like just from 1 to 12 cubed, and that will help you understand how to cube root them. Let's get some practice. Let's do 432. Do you see any of the standard cubes in it, or any of the factors being a cube? Well, I see 216, which is the cube of 6. So 216 times 2 is 432. So similarly to simplifying square roots, we are going to write them out. So this would be the cube root of 216 times the cube root of 2. 2 does not have any cube root factors, so we're just going to keep that, but 216 does, as we established, and that is 6. So it simplifies to 6 times the cube root of 2. Well, that is how to simplify square roots and cube roots. I really hope this podcast helped you, and I really hope that you enjoyed learning. See you next time!